The Castle and the Scroll, Part 13. We all ate together, and I beheld the way all the husbands and wives served each other. I also noticed how the children stayed close to their parents, and were for the most part free from all folly. I was touched to the heart at how they loved their parents through their respectful actions. I also beheld both married and unmarried ladies being kind to me, and yet they did not act like other women I knew. Their behavior was just as modest, pure, and beautiful as their outward appearance. So Captain Samuel said, as he came and sat beside me, "What do you think about all you see here?" "I can't believe it," I said honestly. "It's wonderful." The man nodded his head. "By the grace of the great king, it has been quite incredible. But it is so because of the hard work, devotion to the great king, and devotion to each other. Such devotion is difficult because it requires forfeiting the devotions of this world, but in the end it is well worth it." Why have I never heard of this place?" I asked, but then asked another question before he could answer. "Actually, why doesn't the entire castle know of this place? I know many people who would love to see this." Captain Samuel's expression changed a bit. "You might think so, Caleb, but you must understand that there is often an enormous difference between what people say they want and what they actually want. For example, you think there are many people in the castle who would like this. I don't disagree with you that they would like the idea of it, but when they counted the cost, it would be too much for many of them, for they would have to give up much of what they hold dear." "I don't understand," I said. "What would they have to give up? Only a few hours of every King's Day, right?" Captain Samuel shook his head. "Oh no, my boy. We do this multiple times a week. And not only that, the individual families that make up this army train every day in their own homes." "You train every day?" I repeated with shock. A part of me was disappointed by this. Another part of me was thrilled with this idea. "Well," continued the elder, "it depends on what you want to accomplish. If you want to hold a sword and a shield and know some of head knowledge about the scroll, such as formations and such, then all you need to do is train 1 day a week." Then his countenance grew fierce but quiet. "But if you want to kill dragons, then you must train daily. The army of the great king must be your life." Captain Benjamin, who had also joined us, explained further. "For this reason," he stated, "many of your acquaintances at the castle, will not become truly proficient warriors. They aren't willing to sacrifice what it takes. They don't want to give it up. For example, going to the games many nights a week, they go there to be entertained, and in doing so forfeit the time necessary to truly train as they are called to do. Not only do they lose precious time instead," inserted Captain Samuel, "but they often lose the hearts of their children as well, to the point that the children doubt the very words of the scroll itself. They allow their children to go to the plays that a traveling theater promotes, and in doing so they lose their children to the philosophies of this world. I had not yet been to a play of the traveling theater in my short time back in Ravenhill, but I knew many in the castle that went as often as possible. There was even talk about building a permanent theater in the village. This is why we do this," Captain Samuel continued, "for the most part in the secret. If we opened up this training to all people, regardless of where their true devotion lay, then we would end up with what you see in the castles. We would end up with quantity but not quality. By contrast, the great king, when he walked this earth, was focused upon quality, even to the point of turning those away who may have had a level of sincerity, but who weren't willing to give up everything for his cause." I was amazed at what I was hearing. It was incredible. One thing that made an immediate impression on me as I sat was how Captain Samuel had tried to talk me out of training. He had told me when he saved me from the dragon that it would be too hard. I compared this to the attitude of the castle and realized that they were completely contrary to each other. The castle's priority was trying to get people to be part of their group, despite the condition of their resolve. These people, these rebels, weren't interested in numbers. They had tried to talk me out of joining them. They wanted true devotion. It actually reminded me of how the great king called for soldiers when he had walked on the earth. Things were beginning to make sense, at least, more than before. It was, however, so much to take in at once that I needed further explanation. You said that the theater promoted the thinking of the world, I said. I've never heard that before. Let me give you an example, Captain Benjamin explained. Have you noticed that in the castle both men and women wield the sword and bow? Yes, I said, though in the scroll it forbids such practice. It says that men wield the sword and women wield the bow. Exactly, Captain Benjamin said. Well, I'm now nearly 70 years old. Many years ago I was a child attending in the castle. Only men wielded the sword and only women wielded the bow. Really? I said, amazed and confused. What changed? The culture changed, he answered, and the castle conformed to the world. But this is my point, young man. It was the theater that brought about the transition. They started doing plays which depicted men wielding bows and women wielding swords. Every time people sat in the front of these plays, they were viewing the false advertising of the enemy, which was chipping away at their resolves to stay true to the scroll. And so the people of the great king were being defeated from the inside out in the name of entertainment. That's unbelievable, I said. Why haven't I learned this in the castle? Because they are, to some extent, blind to what is really going on, Captain Samuel said. Many of them think that they are following the great king and the scroll, when in fact they are following a great king that they have invented in their minds. A great king, for example, who changes his scroll to accommodate progressive ideas of culture. This is the great trickery of the enemy, Captain Benjamin said. The enemy defeats the people in the castle, without them even knowing it. The greatest weapon of the enemy is deceit, and when someone is being deceived, by definition, they don't know it. I sat there in a fog of confusion, amazement, sadness, and frustration. I had come out of the evil webs of the world, only to find myself entangled in another web of man's religion. Somehow, to my surprise, I understood the words of these men. It was as if my heart had been prepared to hear the truth. Enough talk, Captain Samuel said as I sat, deep in thought. Pick up your sword. It's time for your first lesson. Chapter 17. By this time I could faintly see the last glows of dusk hanging on the western sky. Most of the families had departed or were just leaving. All that remained were Captain Samuel, Nathan and his family, and me, for Captain Benjamin had also left for his home. I would later find out that most of the families lived in the village, while mainly Captain Samuel and at times a few others lived in the oasis. The bonfire was now our source of light. Nathan's wife Leah, along with his 2 sons and 1 younger daughter, sat along the side of the fire watching us. Nathan stood beside Captain Samuel, both men holding their swords. I, a supposed warrior of the great king, stood there holding my sword, and yet having no idea at all what to do with it. Before you learn how to engage a dragon, you must simply learn how to wield your sword, Captain Samuel said. The best way is simple combat with other warriors. Nathan then stepped forward. Your sword is an extension of not only your body, but also your soul, he said. If you are fearful, your sword will be dull and without effect. If your heart is courageous, your sword will be sharp enough to cut through any dragon's scale. In the same way, added Captain Samuel, if your mind is clouded, your stroke will be slow, and yet, if your mind is alert and at peace, your sword will be faster than a bird's wing. Now, close your eyes. I obeyed this man's instruction. A man who only 6 hours earlier was someone I regarded as a rebel and my enemy. For whatever reason, I now trusted him in a way that he reminded me of William. With my eyes closed, all was pitch black. I could feel the heat of the fire upon my face, and I could hear the crackles of the burning cedar. I sensed that Nathan and Captain Samuel were slowly walking around me. You must be free of fear, Captain Samuel said. The knowledge in your head is important, but if you don't believe it in your heart, it counts for nothing. You must trust in the great king. You must trust in his providence. You must not fear. Don't move." All was quiet. For whatever reason, I felt like I was able to apply the instruction. I wasn't afraid. I knew that the great king was with me. I then heard a slash in the air, and the breeze of a sword stroke passing just in front of my face. "Your heart is prepared for this, my son," Captain Samuel said, as he and I guessed. Also, Nathan continued to walk around me. "Lift up your sword in front of you," he said. I obeyed. I then felt light clanks of steel on steel as they gently began tapping their sword against mine. The taps became stronger. "Never allow your sword to fall from your hands," Nathan said, "but even more importantly, never let it fall from your mind and your heart. Your sword is the embodiment of the scroll. When you wield it, you put forth the truth and power of the scroll. It is the words of the great king, his truth, and his person which cuts into the dragon, not the steel." As Nathan spoke, something changed within me. At the thought of my sword being the embodiment of the scroll, I suddenly saw things differently. It wasn't me alone in the forest fighting dragons. The great king was standing in the gap between me and my opponent. "Open your eyes," commanded Captain Samuel. He stood before me with his sword raised. I sensed that Nathan was behind me. "I'm going to swing my sword down upon you," he said. "I won't do it at full force. I want you to lift your sword and block it. Are you ready?" I nodded with some apprehension, for I had never done such things. The sword came down. I raised my sword to block it. A loud clang echoed for a second in the clearing. "That was good," he said. "This time do it without any fear or reserve, and afterward swing your sword at me. Don't worry. I can see the trepidation in your eyes. You won't hurt me. You need to get accustomed to your sword. Get ready." I readied myself. His sword came down. I blocked it as I did before, this time with more confidence and countered with more bravery than I would have guessed possible. He quickly dodged my blow. "Very good," he said with a smile. "This time do the same thing. Then turn around quickly and engage Nathan. He will come at you first, and then you must counter." This went on deep into the night. I can still remember that very first training session. Nathan and Captain Samuel patiently instructed me in the ways of the sword. The sparks of the fire rising into the sky, with the stars overhead. Leah and her children are all asleep on the ground, with the exception of her eldest son, Levi, who watched us with enthusiasm. "Well done," said Captain Samuel finally. "It's late." "Thank you," I said, not knowing really what to say. "You are welcome," Captain Samuel replied. "Well, is he one of us now?" asked Nathan. Captain Samuel paused. "That remains to be seen. Obviously, he can't be a true soldier of the great king unless he's all in." "I want to be all in," I said in complete sincerity. "I will train with all my heart and soul, just as the scroll says." "Yes," agreed Nathan. "Always follow the scroll." "We shall see," said Captain Samuel. "Come back tomorrow around mid-afternoon, for tomorrow we will begin training you in the arts of the shield. Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell anyone about this place." "Yes, sir," I replied. "I will walk him home," said Nathan. We then entered the forest upon a trail which Nathan assured me was always free from dragons, though I noticed he still walked with both sword and shield in hand while I held the lantern. "There's something special about you," Nathan said as we walked along. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Well," he began, "first of all, you are naturally gifted with the sword. You will quickly become proficient." "And secondly?" I asked, sensing that he was holding back his words. "Captain Samuel has never done that before," he said. "What I mean is, he has never trained someone he had just met. Usually people have to earn that right. They have to be fully trustworthy. Don't misunderstand me. I'm glad that he accepted you so quickly. I liked you from our first real conversation in the marketplace that day. I'm just curious about what it is about you that made him instantly accept you and teach you." He even referred to you as son.